We'll let the two that are coming in work their way in, and then we'll get this going. All right. And we do not have a stenographer, and it's a decision that the only time we'll have a stenographer at meetings is for legal votes, things like that. Nick is the secretary. He will be taking the minutes, so make sure you talk loud and appropriately slow so he can record everything
And please
appropriately.
forgive me if I ask you questions to repeat things.
Okay? And part of it was the budget cuts at the state. We had to economize in some areas, okay?
Okay,
All right, roll call.
yes, sir. Dutchess County, Nicholas Trio is present. Dave Violante. Joan Siebert.
Here.
Tim Murphy.
Here.
Dee Sagendorf.
Here.
Guy Carpico.
Here.
Tom Gilnack.
Here.
Orange County, Michael Bigg.
Here.
Ben Conquest.
Here.
Wayne Chan.
Here.
David Grass.
Here.
Israel Knobloch.
Here.
Kelly Pickle. Or Pickle. Frank Castnight.
Here.
John Hanson.
Here.
Putnam County, Robert Cuomo.
Here.
David Jacobson.
Here.
Denise Montana. Matthew Bondi. Rockland County, Kim Lippis.
Here.
Nick Rusieski. Tim Egan.
Here.
Denise Leon Stoll. Glenn Albin.
Present.
Teresa Hamilton. Neil Dayan. BJ Leidner.
Here.
Sullivan County, Albie Bachman.
Here.
Alex Rao.
Here.
Neil Meadow.
Here.
Heidi Stack. Mike Bruce. Mark Strauss. Ulster County, Richard Parrish.
Here.
Kelly Nelson.
Here.
Dorothy Balin.
Here.
Timothy Mitchell.
Here.
Lisa Servino. We have 24 and a quorum is 13, so we are at quorum.
Thank you. All right, President's report. The Personnel Committee met, and that's the executive, the secretary, myself, the vice president, and the treasurer, reviewed the appraisals done by Bill of the office staff and their job descriptions, made some revisions to them and suggested that to Bill, and based on those, we approved an increase for the office staff. And that was that, and then we've got lots of letters. Dear Rich, this letter is to inform you that we've appointed Sharon Frazier as one of our alternate representatives to the HVREMSCO.
Who's that from?
I'm sorry. It's from Nick Trio, President, Dutchess County EMS. All right. And then this is to Carolina Zambachowski. This is from the Department of Health. On behalf of the New York State Department of Health, Bureau of Emergency Medical Services, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate you on receiving the New York State EMS Council's Youth Provider of the Year Award. The award will be presented to you during the opening session at this year's Vital Signs Conference in Buffalo, Saturday, October 26, 2019 at 9:15. In recognition of this honor, the Bureau of EMS would like to give you a 2-day complimentary registration to the conference. We hope that you can attend. Many award winners like to have other members of their squad or families attend the award ceremony. If you would like to invite guests who will not be attending the conference, please contact Verily Azega at your earliest convenience so the necessary arrangements can be made. We also publish all the award winners and the nominees in our conference proceedings. We'd like to include a photograph of you. To accompany your award description, please send a digital photograph in JPEG or GIF to September 15th. Congratulations. And I'd like to congratulate Carolina on that. Good job. Carolina, I believe, what was it? The youth provider, yes. All right. All right. And this letter is from Dave and to council members. I first apologize that I cannot be here personally with the council. I am teaching in the city and was unable to cover my class when the council meeting date was changed. I simply could not be here with you tonight. Again, my apologies. That being said, I believe you should hear from me as a delegate at the Hudson Valley HVREMSCO beyond the meeting notes I provided earlier in the week about my decision to vote for the New Windsor expansion. A few people have reached out to talk with me, and no doubt many of you here tonight would like the same opportunity. I appreciate that people have talked directly with me about my decision, wanting to know all the pieces involved so they too could understand. Many of you know me to be as fair as possible, considering all pieces of an issue. I will continue to do so in the interest of improving the EMS system for all our providers and communities, and for those in need who call us. Just a couple weeks prior to the meeting, the New York State DOH made an administrative law judge report available to active seated HVREMSCO members only. It was not seen by anyone else at the time, including alternates, regional executives, or presidents, or even those involved in the expansion or appeal. We were not allowed to disseminate this report or discuss it with anyone other than those HVREMSCO members. This report is currently available at the New York State DOH through the Freedom of Information Law. I can provide the ALJ report only now, and only to the members of the Hudson Valley HVREMSCO, and only at the direction of the council president and the HVREMSCO executive director, as the state considers the HVREMSCO to have statutory authority in the expansion, which extends to its members, and because the results are now public. It is by this report that I based my decision, following the direction of the ALJ and the sum and substance of the direction in his report. I ask that the President and the Executive Director address the Council to the content of the report and urge the Council to continue thoughtful discussion afterwards. I will continue to serve this family in as many ways as possible to serve our communities as best we can. Please feel free to reach out. All right, respectfully, Dave. The Executive Committee met on this, and we fully support Dave. There has been some threats which are inappropriate, and in any discussion this evening, any threats in any way that are an attack on Dave will ask for you to leave the meeting. All right? Let's keep it civil, and this is not to attack anybody. Dave was asked to do a job. He was our representative, and we support what he did. All right? Treasurer's report.
Okay, Denise is not here tonight, so she asked me to do the report for her. We wrote 69 checks since our last meeting, which was 5/15/2019 that we reported, for $72,806. The biggest check we wrote was a refund to KJ for their portion of unused funds on their expansion of territory. The rest of it was rent and health insurance mostly. We transferred $30,000 into the payroll account for June and August, and we had financial deposits of $600 into the PA account for the CIU that we ran, We got $69,117 deposited into the program agency account as a voucher for the quarter, and $23,833 were deposited into the account from the March program agency and council, both of them combined, and we deposited $7,500 to the program agency account from the AMFAR account, which is the account that supplies us with the Narcan and the distribution of Narcan to all the agencies, both fire, police, and EMS. All our New York State vouchers are paid. The last ones that we submitted were paid on September 19th for the council, which was $2,500, and $69,000 was paid on 9/5 for the program agency. So we are now in the fourth quarter of program 8. We finished the fourth quarter, billed the fourth quarter, so we started the first quarter of program agency, but we're actually in the second quarter of the council budget. Now, one of the things that have been done at the state level, the financial person that I'm dealing with now has filed an expansion, a request for an expansion of 1 quarter on the council budget, so that the council and the program agent, as of next year, should coincide, so they won't be off by 1. So hopefully that will be done and corrected. In the conference and education account, we added $600, which was the CIU that was transferred through, and we wrote checks for $200 for instructors that taught some of the classes. We still have some outstanding checks to go into there. Our total money on deposit right now is $214,488.24. And if anybody wants to review any or talk to me about it, everything is available.
Bill, would you either, when I send the minutes to you, would you either attach that or send me an electronic copy so I can include it?
Yep, here's the hard copy for tonight, and I will send you
If
electronic.
you'll send me electronically,
Yep.
perfect. Thank you so much, my friend.
Not a problem.
Any questions of the treasurer's report? If not, motion's in order.
No motion. Second.
And second, all in favor? All right. Regional staff.
Okay. We got a few of them, but I'm just going to hit some of the highlights. As you know, and I've been telling you, I have a monthly call with the director, Ryan Greenberg, director of EMS for New York State, and there are a few things happening. In the last call, it was talked about sending out a salary survey, and the salary survey is to try to capture 12 payroll categories in each county, so that we can forward them to the state. They have an intern that's working there that they're going to accumulate that information, and they're going to put out a report on it so that we can show whether EMS is being paid comparatively within each county to other services that are similar. And so that's going to be the first thing that's going to happen. That should be coming out this week, by the way. Also, which is already out, in fact, it might even be past the deadline right now, is that there are new awards being issued by the Bureau of EMS for innovation. And it'll be state awards are going to be giving out at vital signs, and it's about being innovation. It's recruitment and retention, clinical innovation, system design, and there was another one, I can't remember what it was. But those are the 4 innovation categories that are separate than the normal awards that the Bureau of EMS gives out. So look forward to seeing them and seeing what they are and seeing if, if you guys want to start to participate in that. And it's just sent to the state. The region's not involved in it. You just look up on their website. They'll tell you what they are. You go there and you can put people in for them, or you can do it yourself. The operational part of the Bureau is looking to have all of their documents available by email. Their intention is to accept operating certificate renewals by email, and they are going through a process that they're changing in some of the verification forms, that they do not need what they're calling wet signatures, that they will accept scanned copies of signatures, and you won't have to actually sign, the signed documents won't be mailed to them. The BLS protocol, I hope everybody has, I hope everybody Everybody that has seen it, has participated, has taken the test, and is aware that there is a rollout on the state website. If there's any questions on it, don't know how to get on, or having problems, make sure you give us a call. We'll get you through it. It's fairly simple. It should not be an issue. Everybody, every BLS, ALS, CFR, every provider in New York State that's a certified provider needs to take the BLS protocol rollout. It needs to have a certificate from there when they renew their next time. All right, so then the next renewal, that certificate will be required. So if anybody's having issues or anything, let us know. Everybody has to be done by the 31st
Is
of
the
December.
region getting updates from them as to who providers within the region are getting, you know?
Not as of yet. Hopefully that will start next week, that my user code or whoever I give a user code to will be able to look at who is signed up in the region and who has completed it. But when an agency does complete the rollout and is going to start using the protocols, they need to notify the region. The agency needs to keep the records at their level. We don't need to see the records that you've done it, but we need to know that the agency is moving to the new protocols. So if anybody has a question or you know, doesn't know what we actually need or who does what, the letter that was sent out with the protocols from Ryan has that information in there of how to get on, where to go, how to figure it out. And if there is an issue, don't hesitate, give us a call, okay? In a short period of time, the region will be able to also do things with that LMS system. They're going to be allowed to do rollouts or do training through that LMS system. So we're looking forward to doing some of that. New York State training is moving more towards New York State. Okay, the ALS PSE is moving towards the National Registry training, clinical training and PSE. So they are going to have New York State National Registry proctors at all ALS PSEs. And they'll have regional faculty also that's National Registry.
Originals only.
Originals only, that's correct, yes. Thank you. And I think that's all I have, unless there's other questions.
Any questions, Bill? Jeff?
Okay, the transition to NEMSIS 3.4 continues. The state has issued 5 new schematrons since July 15th, each one with their own significant issues that have had to be fixed. Fairview has been problematic with some things, and it took a fair amount of time to actually work that out. We did finally fix the issues. So their data is good. But each agency...
What's having the problems?
Schematron.
The schematron.
Yes. And for those that don't know, the schematron is the XML document that takes all the data and posts it to the state bridge and ultimately to the NEMSIS data site. If you're interested, I can show you what it looks like. It opens up in Notepad, and if you can read XML, you're all set. It's several thousand lines of gibberish to somebody that doesn't understand XML. So it's really not worth looking at. I can share the New York State Data Dictionary with you, and that is what sets the rules. We also have supplemental rules for the region. We want to collect as many data points as possible, and this allows us to do fairly decent data mining, and for our annual study, that type of thing is important. NEMSIS 3.5 will start on January 1st of 2020, and that's really not going to do anything that you're going to see. That is pretty much a bug fix. So it's like Windows 10. They keep rolling out the things that are supposed to fix it and hopefully not break it. What we've seen from NEMSIS is really good stuff. And they ultimately get everything better. If they don't get it right the first time, they get it right the second time. The number of agencies that we have transitioned in the last couple of months has been fairly significant. And we're up to adding the creative EMS agencies along with the ESO agencies. ESO, we have 42 agencies using ESO. So once we start getting their data, we're going to have a fair amount of work to do to make sure that everything works with that. The Zoll data that we've been getting from MSTAR, we had to fix a couple of things there, but that's looking pretty good. So when Mobile Life makes the transition in November, and when Rockland makes their transition next week, we'll have a lot more data to look at, and any issues that are there, we'll get them fixed. Zoll, for the most part, has been very responsive to any issues that we found as far as a mapping error or anything. Image Trend has been on top of whatever we have asked them to do for our regional site, which is still supported for free by Image Trend. One of the, I considered a value-added packet is the CQI module that is within the regional bridge. So we can take and look at however much data we want, create CQI rules for calls that we want to look at. So once the state figures out what their key performance indicators are, if they want to do chest pain, we can do CQI on all of the chest pains that are coming in. ALS agencies, I don't worry too much about because their own in-house QA/QI is fairly robust. Some of the ALS or BLS agencies, they're still looking at PCRs from did we get the patient's name, the date of birth, and they're going through essentially a demographic checklist. After the first of the year, once everyone is up online, we can help them make their QA/QI a little bit more robust and start looking for trends. So are there providers giving aspirin for chest pain when it's indicated? But there's things that we can do to increase their bar for them. And it can be generated here, sent to the agency, and it can be, if they wish it to be, an automatic thing. Same thing that we're doing with the Counter Drug Task Force and their Narcan data. A lot of that is going to be automated. And they're able to use the data, and we have seen pockets where we used to have heavy Narcan usage drop significantly. Doesn't mean the problem is going away, it means it's shifting, but they're making some inroads in that. So that aspect has been keeping the office fairly busy. After the first of the year, I hope to see a lot of that transition to something that's what I consider more productive QA/QI. But until then, that's where we are.
Any questions of quality? Not? Dr. Papish?
Fortunately for you guys, unfortunately, depending on how you view it, I was on vacation at the last REMAC meeting, so I don't really have a report. We didn't have a quorum. I don't think there was any major
No,
discussions.
I think there was only one thing that we probably should bring forward.
Termination.
We have two protocol advisories that will be sent out very shortly. I'm just looking for them. One is hemostatic agents, and the second one is on pulse ox, because all of the protocols now look at pulse oximetry as the method for determining oxygenation of your patient. So there is a REMAC advisory that will be coming out on that, and then there's a second one that will be coming out on the use of hemostatic agents. So that should be out probably pretty shortly.
And the termination one too? Is that going out?
That went out, I believe.
So it went out
Termination
already.
of death went out already. And there was one more that went out.
I think the bleeding and hemorrhage control is just, it's up to your agency to decide, or your agency medical director to decide what hemostatic agent you're going to use. And the pulse ox is just, use it. It's required.
I think those are the only two significant items that we discussed there.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, get into committee reports. Did Dave leave a training committee report?
No.
No.
I did not get a training, but there is one thing in training that we should probably discuss, and that's the new CME manual that is out. I don't know if it's been released at the state level yet. It has been released to our office to take a look at it and see. I know the first time it came out, within about a half hour, they sent the first revision out of corrections that they had to make, but I think it's pretty solid now. But it will become available within the next couple of days again, and it does change the requirements. It was the one that was discussed October of 17, so it is now available, and it's October of 19. It will go into production or into effect on January of 20, and there will be a 6-month transition period. If you've already met your criteria for your current CME recertification, you can process it that way, or you can go, if you haven't and you're going to and you want to process your CMEs, you can process them under the new program, as long as you do the whole thing under the new program or the whole thing under the old program. You can't mix and match and take what you want on that. All right? So as soon as the Bureau puts this up on their website, we will send out an email telling you that it is available. It has reduced the number of hours that each section has, each recertification level has to do, but it has added some other stuff to it.
So when you say it's either new or old,
Yeah.
when you say it's either new or old and not a mix,
Right.
how does that actually work? I mean, if somebody's, is working, let's say they expire in February, and, they have, their core hours, and, they have 25 hours, that's not going to be acceptable?
So,
Or, yeah, good, Dave.
can I clarify that?
Please.
So, the way that it was explained to us, and the way the manual reads currently in its current version, and again, to echo Bill, there's already been a revision. You will recertify under one set of hours or the other set of hours. You, for a 6-month transmission period, will have the opportunity to either use the old hours, and they have to be done in their entirety, or you can elect, as the agency/individual, to go with the new hours and pull out of the old hours what you were doing and apply them into the new program. But essentially, you'll either recertify under a 72-hour CME recertification, or you'll recertify now under the 45-hour program. And just to kind of expand on what Bill was talking about, they went back to requiring mandatory non-core. So that's where the extra 5 hours from the draft came from, because originally they were talking about 40 hours. It's now at 45, because they added 5 non-core mandatory hours that dealt with various subjects that they felt every EMT should be exposed to in their recertification cycle.
Thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
The other important thing with that, CFRs are able to participate in the CME program also. That's the only thing I have on training.
Very good. All right. So we've covered REMAC, the protocols. Transportation Committee, Glenn?
Yeah, I guess, as you guys are aware, the ALJ and the CMAC, I guess they voted to agree with the administrative law judge. That's where we're at with that. So we're back to square one. Motions or whatever come in front of that.
No other applications at this time. All right. Any questions? All right. Public information, Desiree, anything from her? Nothing? All right.
No.
All right. Albie.
Sir.
Oh, we don't have I'm sorry, Policy and Procedures Committee. I need a chair for the Policies and Procedures Committee. Dave has done a nice job of listing out, with Karen's help, of the delegate assignments at different committees. Every committee member, or every delegate should be on a committee on a committee. And as I said, we need a chair for the public, for the policy and procedure. Greg Teramaris was the chair of that. So you don't have to jump up tonight, but let us know. We need somebody for that. All right, now it's your turn, Albie. Go for it.
Good to see all you ambulance drivers once again. See what happens when this comes in the leg? That's why I said it. Okay, I'm proud to say that the bylaws committee is active. Michael, I have to apologize. I see your name, and I did not know that you were on the committee. I do know you were on the TAG committee for mutual aid. Are you on the bylaws committee? I didn't think so, right? Okay. Or the documentation. Yeah, but that was a tag.
Okay, so I have him listed as being on the legislative and bylaws.
Okay, I see that. I see that.
Because he did the legislative part.
Go through and figure
The
out.
bylaws committee, as it presently sits, did confer, if you recall, not the last of the meeting, which was an emergency meeting, but the meeting prior, it was discussed that all members, as the president just mentioned, that all delegates should be serving on a committee. So we attacked that particular topic, and we came up with a bylaw change. However, after meeting at the executive committee just a little while ago and having some input, I do know that our committee members, Israel, I know that you agree, that we came up with other suggestions that would encompass not only the delegates, but the alternates as well. So I suggest that we revisit, and at the next meeting, our conglomerate of minds will come up with a more inclusive bylaw that will address that issue. If you're okay, sir? Ted? If you're okay? So I'll be reaching out to you for that discussion again. Thank you. Now, while we're on that, we would like to open it up quickly for some suggestions on what you think would be best to include, to get people involved, and to make our council grow, to improve our EMS system, get people to speak. So we'd like to throw it out to you now for some suggestions that we can take back in consultation.
One of the things we discussed in the executive committee meeting that I think is a really good idea is to permit non-council members to be on committees that have specialized knowledge, that might be able to contribute to our efforts.
I think that's a good idea. We do that with onion committees. You don't have to be a board member to be on a committee.
Right, the same at the,
Chair a committee for that.
at the state EMS, you don't have to be a rep to sit on their committees either. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Anybody else?
I was just thinking of the chair of our finance committee, and onion is not a board member. I agree with you.
Any other suggestions? Okay to consider alternates also. We're also talking about that where, as you know, as a delegate, you have to attend X number of meetings. So in order to have alternates to be involved, they should also have some type of minimum requirements. So we'll be discussing that when we confer again. Anybody else with any thoughts?
I think you're on the right track.
Okay. So the committee shall meet again before the next meeting, and come up with an appropriate change in bylaw. Two legislative things I'd like to discuss. It actually just will piggyback on what the chair just spoke about and also what Bill spoke about before. In the Senate is a bill that was introduced in June. So we won't hear anything about that because they're out of session. So I'll just read it very quickly. It's in relation to include certified first responders in a program relating to recertification. So right now the statute talks about emergency medical technicians, advanced emergency medical technicians. It now includes certified first responders. So they're working that is actually the statute. I know the state's talking about it, but it's actually a bill that needs to be passed, and it's been referred to the State Committee. There you go. Next is another thing that Bill was talking about before. This is in the Assembly, introduced by Assemblyperson Steck. In relation to establishing a living wage rate for emergency medical services personnel. So not only are they talking about it at the state level, there's actually a bill that has been submitted. Now, it was submitted in March, and again, they're out of session. When we will hear about it again is beyond our knowledge. However, at least between the State Council and also the Assembly and Senate, I don't see a Senate bill attached to it yet, but I'll stay on top of that. That is a serious matter. We're hoping that with due time we can address that issue and keep personnel in our industry. Sir?
Have you seen that video?
I just have it in front of me.
I'm just wondering if there's any, so it's great that we want to increase the wages for our people.
Mhm.
You know, I'll be the first in line to bump up those raises, but there has to be some corresponding reimbursement for that.
No doubt.
And I'm wondering if there's any language in the bill with regard to reimbursement.
No, not at all. We do know that's key. And just to remind you, one of the
Increase the expenses,
one of the reasons why we're unable to keep personnel in the industry is that nowadays 60, depending on your jurisdiction, 60 to 80% of the people that we serve are of the senior population and of the Medicare, Medicaid recipients as well. So as long as the government caps what we're able to make, we're unable to raise the wage that we need to sustain ourselves. So hopefully, in conjunction with this bill, that'll be the debate. Assembly Bill number 6672. 6672. So I will stay on top of that. I doubt we'll see anything definitely before our next meeting. STECK, S-T-E-C-K. But that's going to be the debate on how we can raise our income so that we can raise everybody's wages. So we don't lose people to Kohl's Warehouse and other industries. So I'll keep you posted on that. Yes. That is a Senate bill, number 6337. And that's my report, sir.
Thank you. Any questions? Tim, anything on community paramedicine?
In fact, prior to HVREMSCO last week, we had an Onion Board and General Membership meeting. And after that, the Onion Board met informally with Ryan Greenberg and Stu Zurich on a number of issues. One of the points that I wanted to bring up tonight with regard to that meeting was Ryan is pretty confident that community paramedicine will actually be passed. I asked him, well, why do you say that? And he said there's a lot of high-end support for it, a high degree of visibility at the department, and also some high-level support at the Bureau, namely Tim and Steve. So my question was, well, how does that translate to legislation? Because, you guys can't just approve it without legislation. And he said that the high-level support from the department will help strongly with that. So, it's not that time of the year to be meeting with people on these issues. And after the first of the year, new budget time. So after next April, I can tell you that I'll be in our offices in the morning talking about this. And we'll have our Onion lobbyist beating that drum very early in the year. Because, that would be great. Absent that, there are still 7 programs running in the state. We have a program serving 2 different hospitals right now. It's going very well. It's very well received in the medical community, with the public, with the hospital board of trustees. As a matter of fact, I'm giving a presentation tomorrow morning at the Santa on this. So it's very well received, and the programs are doing very well. And we're keeping them, again, within the confines of Article 30 to keep the Bureau happy and to do it the right way. So that's really it, unless there's any questions.
Any questions? If not, Dave, do you have the state report? I have Dave's if you want to read it or you want to do it. Go for it.
Mine reads pretty much the same.
Go.
So it was a busy week up there in Albany. There was a lot of things going on. I think probably the biggest piece that came out of the general population conversation and meetings started with medical standards. New York City EMS has tried to strong-arm the Department of Health into allowing them to violate the December 31st, 2019 protocol deadline.
Not just the investments, too.
50. Sorry about that. Same thing. But,
Well, it's not, because they were talking about the certified first responders.
so the state said they were willing to discuss it with them, but not without hard dates. So giving credit where credit is due, it appears that Director Greenberg has in fact come along, shook the tree, and made very clear that what we've been doing for 40 years hasn't worked and it's time for a new direction. And I think that New York City FDNY got that where they're used to pushing things along and going along. They had some protocol changes which moved through fairly easily. On the training and ed, I think that Bill did a great job of discussing most of it, the CMA changes on the program. A couple of things, on-site scoring is going away. They are contracting after the first of the year with testing centers. The good part about that is with the reintroduction of the testing centers, 2 things happen. Number one, you don't have to go on the 3rd Thursday at 7 o'clock to New York City, Albany, or Rochester. There'll be, right now, 29 testing centers across the state where after the paperwork has been submitted to the Department of Health and they've approved it, the candidate will be given a certificate to go sit for an exam at their convenience. They will schedule it no different than the nurses and other licensed professionals do now. The other positive advent of that is the Department of Health has agreed that once you get the results, you'll get a temporary certificate again. So right now the cost of that is $28 per exam. So that is happening after the first of the year. On-site will go away and it will move towards that. The state has got a hard push for doing away with paperwork submission. They are moving everything to electronic submissions, including electronic signatures. So that is a huge advancement at the state level of being able to submit applications and all of that stuff, standards through there. The HVREMSCO CMAC voted to approve national standards for the AEMT level. The other big piece that was circulated, I'm not sure if everybody saw it. I'll be happy to share it with you because I have a copy of it. The proposed 800 changes. So they are pretty significant as well. So for those of you that are tired of putting your sandbags in your ambulances to meet Part 800, they in fact are being discussed and eliminated. So, and there's several other changes. They have a whole safety committee and systems committee that's working on revising Part 800 when it comes to minimum staffing. With that, the state is now proposing, it has to go through legislation, it has to go through voter referendum and approvals and whatnot, of moving current New York State certifications from 36 months to 48 months. So you would now have a 4-year certificate versus a 3-year certificate. And again, that was done by design for easing providers and trying to retain people coming in.
But it is key. This is a proposal. Don't go running out of here and saying, hey, it's going to 48 months. Now, look how long it took for the CME program to come down. This has got to go through legislative changes. All right?
And there's a lot of other language changes, stuff that just has to be updated to current practices and protocols as far as doing there. That really was the bulk of, other than what Bill talked about at the education. The 17-year-old certification question is still a hot button as far as it's legal. 17-year-olds can take an EMT course, but there's still a lot of debate on the legal side. Can they secure RMAs? They can't sign one themselves, but can they secure it from somewhere else? So that's still being debated back and forth.
I think that they were taking questions because they're going to be going to legal counsel
Right.
back at the January meeting. If anybody has any specific questions, share them with Brian or Steve.
Yep.
Bring them forward.
Absolutely. As far as the state council, obviously, I'm sure one of them will be discussed this evening. There were two CON expansion of territory motions that went on the floor. Both of them were defeated and not approved. One being local and the other one being in Long Island. Other than that, I think everything's been covered, sir.
Thank you.
Question for you, Dave.
Yes, sir.
When they take their test and pass and get their temporary certificate, can they operate?
Yes.
That was the assumption, based on everybody there, that they would return to the policy that they had in previous, where you went to on-site scoring, and they would give you a 90-day temporary certificate to operate. The statement was that they would return to that certificate of temporary issue until the state issued an actual card.
The change is, remember when you used to go for on-site scoring, they handed you a piece of paper and they found some people didn't have all their course requirements completed and they had to go back and pull their tickets. That's why they did away with issuing. Now, before you get that certificate, all the course paperwork has to be into the region. Like
To the state.
to the state. My course, when I finish it, I hand all the end of the course paperwork to the preceptor. He takes it to the state. When they get that, that's when they will generate the paperwork for you to go sit, because now they say, yeah, everything's signed off, you've completed your practical skills, you don't owe the course any monies, or you satisfied all the requirements. So there's going to be a delay. So
The only thing the state is hoping to do, and we'll wait till it rolls out in policy, is end of course paperwork for course sponsors is going to be a total electronic submission.
it'll be quicker.
So it'll be one stroke of a key in an email going up to the state. And the only other thing that came out for the course sponsors that are here for clarification, if you're not aware, the state, when they move an exam site location because they're having difficulty finding proctors, it used to be they would send a hard copy letter to not only the CIC of record, but also the course administrator. The state, in trying to save money, started doing that via email and was only notifying the CIC. And there were a couple of occasions where the CIC never saw the email, and there was a classroom full of students sitting there waiting for a proctor who was not coming. So the state, through Gene Taylor, agreed they would go back to notifying not only the CIC of record, but also the course administrator. So at least two people had the opportunity to know, hey, your course location has been moved. But it will be only by email. There will be no more hard copy letters. So.
Thanks, Dave. All right, under old business, I have the EMS Summit meeting. Any report on that?
We discussed that at the protocol committee meeting the other day, and I think that they're looking to prepare to possibly be doing a second follow-up meeting to that, is where they really want to go with it at this point.
No other questions on that? I don't have any other old business. Does anybody? All right. If no other old business, new business, I have BLS protocol rollout, but you covered that.
Yeah, unless is there
Yep.
anybody that has any issues with the BLS protocol, not being able to sign on, or anything else that's going on?
I don't have any issues, but I do want to share that Mid-Hudson has a computer room in our education department with 16 computer stations, so we've opened it up for different days or different times that EMS can come in and take the exam as a group, or not exam, but the rollout as a group. So we can help you get signed on to the LMS, and you have your own individual station, so you're going to be in your own file, do the thing together as a group, and finish it out, and then you'll get your certificate.
Can I just comment on that for half a second? Thank you for doing that. But just as a follow-up to the Training and Ed Committee for David, one of the things that the Training and Ed Committee is going to do is they're going to put a CME together. But what they're going to do is, and they're going to ask this group as well as all of the core sponsors, questions that you have about the protocols and how they affect your members, your staff, your individuals. One of the hot buttons has been the termination of CPR by BLS providers in the field. So one of the things that we decided to do as part of the training committee meeting is we're going to send the state a list of questions that you put together, and then what we're going to do is roll out a CME that's essentially frequently asked questions and then answers given by either Ryan or Gene for clarification, so that you can take it back to your members, you can take it back to your core sponsors, and kind of, what do we do if, what do we do in this situation, because I'm sure those questions will come up. So I would encourage you, either email Dave Violante or feel free to email me and I'll forward it on to him. But it's going to be a CME probably sometime in November that we want to put together. So the more questions you put together, the better the opportunity will be to able to get clarification.
Sharon, just reach out to you if you have people that want to do that? Yes. Okay, we'll set that up. I assume.
I have the 4 dates on November 15th, which is 7 to 9 p.m. The 17th is 10 to 12 noon. The 22nd is 10 to 12 noon. And the 24th is 7 to 9 p.m. Yeah.
Sharon, can you make me a copy of this?
October, not November, October. I'll give it to you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other new business they need to come forward to the council?
I think we have a visitor that
Oh.
came in. He's sitting in the back, the guy with the white shirt. Would you like to stand up and introduce yourself?
No pressure.
No
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Timothy Kelly. I am not from Monroe Volunteer Ambulance. I am from Monroe Ambulance based out of Rochester, New York. The reason why I'm here tonight is because I currently sit on the Monroe-Livingston Regional EMS Council. I sit as secretary, and I also sit for the alternate as the state representative. I'm here because since dealing with the state and seeing all the different councils, it's gotten me very interested to see how different and how alike we are. And just sitting through one meeting, I can tell we have a lot of the same issues. So it's nice to know I have company. I actually grew up in the Hudson Valley as well. I'm from the village of South Blooming Grove, and I still have family there as well. So coming in, observing your meeting, seeing how everything's run is very eye-opening to me. Thank you very much for having me as well. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions for me, please let me know. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Yep.
I have one more.
Yep.
We had a RTAC meeting, which is the Regional Trauma Advisory Committee meeting. It meets probably on a quarterly basis. And there's a couple of things that came out of there that I just want to let you guys know about. Westchester County is creating a white paper that consolidates and coordinates all the efforts and policies between the police, the fire, and EMS in Westchester County. So I think that should be a pretty interesting read once we get to it. And from what I understand, it's just about ready. Dr. Feeney, which is from
Mid-Hudson and Westchester.
Mid-Hudson and Westchester, okay, did a presentation on creating a team at each of the hospitals within our region that could go to another hospital if they needed help in a mass casualty incident or active shooter or something else that might be going on. And he put together a bunch of ideas and suggestions with it, and I think there's going to be a formal presentation coming out from the RTAC with it. He knows there's cross-credentialing problems and issues, but it's probably the only time it's ever been done in the state, if not in the country, where they could move physicians, nurses, critical care people, emergency room people to a hospital for a short period of time while they were being inundated with this mass casualty incident.
Or like the Hicks level, something in their hospital, maybe, you know, whether it's a fire slash, is that what they're thinking, or?
No, they're thinking of outside being overwhelmed by two school buses hit together, or you know, a train wreck, or
So a surge response team.
surge response team from a hospital that is close by but not associated to that hospital necessarily. So they're talking cross-credentialing, they're talking about doing visits at the hospital, training several times a year, things like that. It seemed like a very interesting concept that he had brought forward, and he's done some work like that before, I guess. And I think that was all that really pertained on the EMS side to the RTAC. There was a lot of other things discussed, and some particularly good case studies that they did. But
Yes, Sharon?
I have like an infection control kind of question. Previously in our ER, we had a cleaning part in our soil room available for EMS to use if they have a large contamination in their ambulances. With changes that we've had done in our environmental services, we can no longer keep that mop and bucket there that sits there forever and sometimes not cleanly. So it serves you no purpose and we can't do it anymore. So I wanted to ask, how do you guys clean any large contamination in your vehicle, your ambulance, and the hospitals, other hospitals? Do you guys provide stuff, material, linen, supplies, that kind of
If the agency asks for assistance, EDS will give them a pink bucket with either a cleaner or a sanitizer or something like along those lines. They rarely would provide mops because we don't have like regular mops. In the new building, I actually spec'd for a hot water hose to be able to be available to gross decontamination, backboards, that type of stuff. And small equipment can be done in the sink in the decon room.
So this hose would be an outside area?
The hose would be in the ambulance bays,
Okay.
and they have access to it. I don't think, it's not prudent for you guys because it's an outside. Ours actually is like Orange Regional. It'll close down and it's a heated and air-conditioned space.
What about the ambulances? What do you guys use? Do you have anything on your ambulance?
We buy new ambulances, we throw them out.
At least in our agency uses a commercial company called Clean, and they'll actually come and we'll take the unit out of service. They're usually there within a couple of hours, and they come in and actually perform sanitization and.
Yeah, but if you're the only ambulance, you know, if you have more, you know, if
So if you come in with like somebody who's, vomited all over, or there's blood all over the place, what's the easiest way to clean it out?
I think the obvious,
allowed?
Wait till the next shift comes on.
And then ultimately, when you get back to your station, you'll wind up doing a more thorough cleaning of bleach and some other issues.
Okay.
What happens at Health Alliance, we keep a couple of the EPA containers in the EMS bay, and they use that if it's really contaminated. Our environmental services folks basically do the same thing that Dave is. They'll bring the equipment down, and some of my environmental services will help them clean it out. But it's not mandated for them, but that's how we handle it. And as far as like backboards and stuff like that goes into the soil utility and environmental services. That's an OSHA requirement. If we give it back to them soiled, it's got to be wrapped. But it goes into environmental services and they'll clean it.
That's what you have.
And then put it back in the equipment rack.
If the board is contaminated, we either assist them in cleaning it. It doesn't go to central sterile, or it gets wrapped in a large red bag.
because we were using Central and they just put in new equipment and now they're saying, oh, no, because the boards fly all over and you don't see where they'll stand it very well, so.
But like I said, in the new decon room, there's actually a station there meant for EMS equipment to be decon.
Sharon, in 30 years, I've never had a problem finding a housekeeper saying, hey, can I borrow some stuff?
Okay.
It's very informal. My ambulance is my responsibility, I'm gonna clean it, but I've never, any hospital, yours, Dave's.
I was just wondering if there's something that we could have available for you if you need it, other
Yeah.
than what we had before, which
We put wipes out.
we do
We
have
have
them now.
Clorox and we have Purple Tops.
Yeah.
And we literally have multiple containers out for them to be able to use to wipe stuff down.
Yeah.
But they can always approach EVS or ask one of the nurses for assistance.
All right. I'm gonna be sending some stuff out soon.
All right.
Good thing you guys.
And that's I had a phone call from Albany Med. If you have any equipment
I
up
had the
there.
same phone call.
All right, yeah, their room is overflowing, and if you think you got anything up there, check it. What's that?
It's 3 rooms.
3 rooms.
3 rooms.
All right, if you think you got any equipment up there, go up and get it, because
Do you have any vents or life vents or anything?
I asked him if he had a list of agencies in Ulster County, but he hadn't gotten back to me yet, but yeah, they've got a lot of equipment sitting up there, and like Dave says, 3 rooms full.
I did ask if there was a Stokes basket up there, because I'm missing one at home, but
It's at the end of the
Right.
month, there'll be an auction.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Next letter is
Yeah.
super
We
sale.
may have an ambulance that traveled a long ways and had to leave their stuff there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a hard time for them to
Before they get back
it.
and get it, that's right.
That happens.
All right, any other issues to come forward? Motion? Hold on, Dave, you had something?
we do have some CME information. Sharon has connections stuff, I believe, and I also have Vassar's or New Vance's CMEs. The other thing for the council to know is, obviously, HealthQuest is now New Vance, and that means that we're now 7 hospitals instead of 4. And with the addition of New Milford, Danbury, and Norwalk hospitals. New Milford and Danbury, I'm working with the region to have them be medical control facilities for the agencies that are on the east side of the region, just so you know. Thank you.
This flyer is for the EMS Connections Conference. Anybody's.
And my flyers are out on the shelf.
All right, motion's been made, second. Approved? In favor? Have a good weekend.